guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled My Beautiful Wife vs. Macho Rooster, or entitled Neighbor. The background. This is a story from years ago when I provide on-site tech work in a niche market all over America. The work is good and pays well, but the traveling can be rough, as I put in some 100,000 miles, 160,000 kilometers, a year by car. As I travel mostly by car, during the summer we pay reliable types to feed the cats and water the lawns and take the whole family on the road. My kids get to see much of America, and parts of Canada and Mexico, and have fantastic vacations while I get to travel and still have the company of my family after work. The trips normally last 3 to 4 months. These are great times. Unfortunately, during the winter, the kids have school and I get to be away on my own anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 months on a stretch. Some summers this happens too due to family having other needs back in town. But then they sometimes travel with me for Christmas break too. At least my wife never has to hold down a job while I am working this job. This story happens during one of those times that I am out of town and my beautiful wife is managing things at home. The setup. When we first move into this house, there is a great family that lives across the street from us. They are very respectful and just really great neighbors. They're upper middle class Latinos. They own a bar. They have fixed up their house in some very nice ways, including a wrought iron fence around the yard. Much better than the chain link fence around ours. They have several nice cars. More than they can fit in their driveway. There are always 2 cars parked on the street in front of their house. But they also have a problem. For whatever reason, someone in the local constabulary just cannot accept that a Latino business owner of a bar can make this kind of money without also dealing drugs. Every month the police swoop in with warrants and drug-sniffing dogs and spend hours going through their house and cars with fine-toothed combs. Every month, they leave empty-handed and no arrests, no tickets, no infractions. Nothing. Every month the neighbors come over to apologize for any disturbance this inspection causes us. They are mortified every time it happens. Every month, we tell them not to worry about it. We always reassure them that this says more about the police than it does about them. Believe me, if they had been doing anything at all, they would already have been caught. They appreciate our support. And as my wife and children are also Latino, we are glad to give it. Finally, they've had enough of it. They sell the bar and the house and move to a smaller town in another state with a larger Latino population and open a new bar there. I wish them well. There follows a string of much lower-class Latinos in their old house. None of them live there for very long. I suspect there may be a landlord behind some of this. Some of them are genuinely nice people. We give 2 broken-down vehicles to one fellow who is renting a room in the basement. I decide I'm never going to get the time to swap parts between them to come up with a functioning vehicle, which had been the original plan. He is able to rebuild a single working vehicle and now can travel out of town for work. My only price is that he tows off what he doesn't use, and this he does. Good guy. The Macho Rooster. Then comes the day the Macho Rooster moves in. And he lives there for a long time. He is the owner of the house. This makes him a somebody. And somebodies are an entitled thing to be. He struts about in nice clothes and bling. This is his domain. He has declared himself emperor of the street. And any who challenge it will rue the day. Almost immediately we start having trouble with him and his family parking in our driveway or in front of the mailbox. If the mailbox is blocked, the post won't be delivered. My beautiful wife will take the kids to school, or pick them up, and come home to find she has to park on the street. This rubs her all kinds of wrong. But leaving nastygrams on the windshield is not improving things at all. If they get a shot at our driveway, they take it. Weekends are even more fun. Not only is the entire street filled with cars related to his house, but the party and the music is playing so loud all of our windows shake, including the ones in the back of the house. If that is not bad enough, it keeps up until 3, 4 or even 5 in the morning. He has bullied many of the neighbors with his macho posturing. They won't call the police with a noise complaint out of fear. We call. They turn it up even louder after the police leave. Yeah. He's a real class act, this one. The event. So this day, my beautiful wife returns from picking up the kids from school and their car is in our driveway. What's different this time is the young lady sitting in the car waiting for something or someone. Beautiful wife parks on the street, gets the kids in the house, and then comes out to have a chat with the young lady. It goes something like this, translated from Spanish and is related to me by my wife. Beautiful wife. Excuse me. I'm going to need you to move your car out of my property. You have no permission to park here. Young lady. Excuse me. My uncle said I could park here. So you can just duck off. Beautiful wife. Your uncle doesn't own this driveway. He can't give you permission to park in my driveway. That's not how it works. Young lady. He said I can park here. I can park here. She then gets out, locks the car, and walks across the street. Beautiful wife calls after her, I can have you towed, you know. Young lady. You wouldn't dare. Little does she know beautiful wife. Not only does she dare, she has almost done it several times already, but wanted to give them a chance to be warned. Well, now they've been warned. But before she calls a tow truck, beautiful wife has a feeling this may escalate. She calls the non-emergency police line and lets them know the issue she is having with our neighbors. When they get the address, they actually say, oh, them. She is looking for a number for a towing company. Remember the good old days when we used yellow pages for things like this? When there comes a knock at the door. It's Macho Rooster. And he is huffing and puffing. Beautiful wife is fearless. She opens the door and confronts him. Macho Rooster. How dare you tell my niece she can't park here? I told her she could. Beautiful wife. What makes you think that matters? You can't give permission to anyone to park on my property. Macho Rooster puffs up his chest more. Look, little lady, you obviously don't know who you are talking to. I can say it. And if I say it, it happens. Beautiful wife laughs. He is actually shorter than her. Look, little man, that macho crap doesn't fly here. Maybe where you are from you're a big deal and that crap works, but where I come from, the men are afraid of the women, not the other way around. We know what rolling pins are good for and we are not afraid to use them. I've a nice marble one in here. Would you like to see it? This obviously did not suit Macho at all. He starts sputtering nearly incomprehensible bits of phrases that include some snippets like, how dare you, and, nobody talks to me like this, and so on, but mostly just sputtering like an old car with gas in the carburetor. Now at this point, beautiful wife takes a stance that is a quick reaction away from demonstrating a beautiful soccer kick to Macho's low-hanging fruit. As she can see he is about to use something other than his words to get his point across. And she is ready to defend herself. But she can see something he in his sputtering rage cannot. And that is the police car that has just pulled up behind his niece's car. So as Macho's fist raises over his head to beat her into submission, she decides it is worth playing the poor victim and taking the hit. Instead of striking the first blow, she cowers just a little and cries. And tries not to laugh while doing it. To her amazement, the blow never lands. Officer Friendly breaks the speed of light. When he sees the fist go up, he's out of his car, over the hood, over the chain-link fence and has Macho's fist in his grip before it can take the swing at her. Very shortly thereafter, Macho is shown a new kind of bling, a set of nice silver bracelets. He is placed in the back of a cruiser. Other police have now arrived. Beautiful wife is the perfect little victim. She is so afraid of him and what he could do to her and her kids, her being here home all alone while her husband is traveling for work. She believes her performance is Oscar-worthy. Doubtful. But it is good enough for the intended audience. The niece is forced to move her car off our property. Macho is not seen in the neighborhood for nearly a week. There are some apparently complicating issues that make this much worse for him, but the police are not free to disclose. We really don't care. The aftermath. For the rest of the time he lives across the street from us, Macho never acknowledges our existence again. He also never allows any of his people to park in our driveway, in front of our mailbox, or anywhere in front of our property. We only have one more all-night music Friday night. But the first visit from the police results in the music going off permanently. Yeah. We called the complaint in. Under his ownership, the house is not properly maintained. It eventually falls into disrepair. He sells it, I suspect, to buy another one to run down. It's the opposite of flipping homes. The next neighbors are even worse, but for other reasons. But that's a story for another day. Beautiful wife. The winner by default. Macho rooster. Didn't even qualify for the match. The next story is titled Am I the A-hole for kicking my ex out of my house right before Christmas and suing her? My ex and I divorced about 15 years ago and we have shared custody of our daughter. In the divorce, she wanted our house but I fought hard against it because it's been my family home for 3 generations before I inherited it. In the end we came to a compromise that was signed off by the judge. Basically she gets to live in the house rent-free until our daughter turns 18, then I get it back. I had to pay the utilities, maintenance, and property taxes the entire time. In addition, she can't make any modification or upgrades to the house without my written permission. She's solely responsible for the cost, and the work has to be performed by an insured and legally licensed professional. I've been sending her move-out notices for months in anticipation of my daughter's 18th birthday, and recently that came to pass. The day after I showed up to the house with a contractor because I wanted some work done before I moved back in. At first she refused to let me in until I reminded her that I'm the legal owner of the house. According to our divorce agreement signed by the judge, she's no longer allowed to be there, and I'll call the police if she doesn't let me in. She got the point and opened the door. I was surprised nothing was packed and it didn't seem like she's moving at all. We were arguing as I walked through and inspected my house. She wanted extra time and I told her to be out by the end of the week or I'll have her stuff thrown out. When I walked into the living room, I was shocked into silence. The living room was expanded by a wall being torn down and having the bedroom that was once there merged into it. She turned my 4BR house into a 3BR1. I know I didn't sign off on this, and from the looks of it, the work was probably done by her BF and not a professional. I yelled at her and told her I'm going to sue her for everything she has, then I left. She went crying to our daughter and my family. Now everyone is telling me to give her another month to find a place and not to sue her. My daughter is firmly on her mother's side and thinks I'm the for kicking her mother out a couple of weeks before Christmas and suing her. This is why I'm here. I think I'm right and legally I am right, but my daughter's opinion of me matters to me. Am I the a-hole? Comment said, I don't know where you live and the worth of your house, but where I live, there's a huge price difference between a 3-bedroom house and a 4-bedroom one. Your ex's action caused you to lose tens if not $100,000. Not the a-hole and sue her. Another comment said she has had 15 years to find alternative accommodation. You even send her reminders, and she violated the agreement by having unauthorized work done? Yeah, hell no, kick her out. Not the a-hole. The next story is titled Girlfriend Threatened to Move Out. We're good now, and this was half a year back. For some reason, we got into a decent argument. I said, for some reason, because I thought I had forgotten, but it's coming back a bit now. I was upset that she was constantly yelling at me, and she was upset that I often stayed up past 1 a.m., my most productive hours for programming. She came up to yell at me and I told her I didn't want that, and it was stressing me out. Anyway, argument aside. She started packing a massive suitcase and said she was leaving, so of course I had to calm her down and all that stuff, which did work, and she did stay. Later, we worked out the issues also, so we're both happy now. With other people. No, that part's just a joke. I proposed to her a bit ago and we're planning a wedding. Anyway, the petty revenge part. The suitcase was insanely heavy because she has a ton of clothes. Thing was probably approximately 50 pounds. 23 kilograms on its own. As part of her threat, she had brought her massive suitcase upstairs. After I calmed her down, I figured she'd probably pull that stunt again soon. It was super effective. After I brought it back down, I put an extra 30 lb. 13 kilograms dumbbell in there and hid it between neatly folded clothes. She never made the threat again, but she did eventually have to move her suitcase and she wondered why it was so much heavier than she remembered. She thought I had messed with it somehow and opened it but didn't search around long enough to find the dumbbell. So, this 100 lb. 5 feet 2 woman had to drag an immensely heavy suitcase back upstairs to her room, and only when she started taking the clothes out did she finds the dumbbell. She laughed about it when she told me, so it was wins all around. The next story is titled Airport Hotel and Winter Storm from Hell. I work at an airport hotel and this week has been an absolute nightmare. We've been sold out every single night since Thursday, with a ton of no-shows and people idioting non-stop about cancelled flights. I've had about 20 people all idiot about how their Christmas is ruined because they couldn't fly into Buffalo to see their family. The airlines were encouraging people since Monday to reschedule their flights because the storm was predicted to be so bad and waived all fees. It seems like nobody changed their flights because Buffalo is buried in a ton of snow and all the roads are closed. But sure, we ruined their Christmas because they lived under a rock. The airlines just wanted to cancel their flights to ruin their holiday. Another family that was mad because they booked a cruise to leave yesterday but their flight was cancelled to the port. The ship left without them, and they didn't buy travel insurance. Of course it was our fault because they could have flown out on Wednesday, but that would have required a couple of extra days of lodging somewhere else. They were also too cheap to buy travel insurance. Apparently at the front desk we should have just found them another way to fly to their port. Wait time was at 2 hours for our restaurant. Guests asked since when they couldn't go into the terminal to get food. Apparently September 12, 2001 wasn't the correct answer because they wanted us to force TSA to allow them to get food in the terminal. So many leisure travelers getting pissed when they ask how early they need to get to the airport and you tell them 3 hours with these conditions and at least 4 for international, and then them not believing you and missing their flight and proceeding to blame you when their next flight is Wednesday because the airline puts a priority on those who had a flight cancelled, and all the queues for bag check and TSA are backed up from the glut of leisure travelers. The only upside to this property is we're unionized, but for working day after day with these conditions we need more. The next story is titled "We Reached to Level Entitlement." I should preface this by saying that we've begun putting out fresh cookies for arrivals. There's a guy in house who has been here for a little over 3 weeks. Every day he comes down and takes like 4 cookies. Whenever I'm on arrivals, I make only enough for the arrivals list. I'll even call him out for taking so many cookies. Today, there's only like 3 arrivals, so I figure it's not even worth heating up the oven for 4 cookies. Side comes down and asks me where the cookies are. I say there's only for arrivals, I'm not making cookies. And those cookies are for arrivals only. He says to my face, "You're not nice. I like insert usual evening shift worker." All I responded with was, "Bah. Humbug." I should also mention that he crashed our employee Christmas party and took pizza from us. The next story is titled "Grandparents Gave Us a Blank Christmas Card in a Dirty Envelope." Obligatory apology for formatting and spelling, grammatical errors. I am on mobile, and English isn't my first language. So, a little bit of backstory first. The grandparents we are talking about are the maternal grandparents of my husband. He was put in the foster system when he was 5 and so doesn't really have a bond with this side of the family. But his aunt is trying to get the family together a little bit more over the last few years, so we meet them at Christmas and Easter. On with the actual story. So today we were at the aunt's place, and as the grandparents lived directly under them, they were invited for lunch too. They left shortly after and before the gift giving. When we did that, the aunt gave us an envelope with water stains and our last name written wrong on it. She said we should look if there is money inside, because the sister of my husband and her kids were also there, but they haven't given something for them, so if there was money my aunt would have given her the amount. So, we opened it, and it was a Christmas card. And when we opened this one it was blank. We didn't take it personally because we know how they are, and as stated my husband doesn't really have a bond with them anyway, but my aunt was really embarrassed and apologized profusely. We got a good laugh out of it, and my husband suggested we give them back the same card next year but with something written in it. The next story is titled "Denying Late Checkout." Look, I get that it's Christmas, but the latest checkout anyone is getting today is noon, so my housekeepers can spend time with their families today too. I've already had a guest ask for a 4 p.m. checkout and had to stop myself from both calling them insane, because the latest checkout I can ever offer is 2 p.m. on a normal day, and downright rude, for questioning whether 12 p.m. is good enough for them or not. No way in hell are you getting anything past noon, and if you do stay, you're getting another night's charge as per our policy. I had another ask for 1 p.m., and when I explained noon is the latest, they asked if I was sure. Bro, obviously I'm sure. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I am not responsible for your poor planning. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.